Hey, it's Luke from LT Gaming, and today we're checking back in on Nivalis, because this is still one of the most eye-catching Cyberpunk games in development, and over the last stretch of devlogs it started to feel a lot less like a cool idea and a lot more like a real game taking shape. Since June, the updates have moved from pure atmosphere and city vibes into much clearer gameplay, more progression detail, and now thanks to a new FAQ, a much better sense of what your actual day-to-day life in this city is going to look like. For me, that's the Cyberpunk dream, living in a city day to day and being totally immersed. I'm a huge fan of synthwave music. I actually went to see La Brock a couple of times. I've hugged that singer during a live concert, so if anybody knows that band, let me know. I might stick that picture up at some stage. I mean, at one point I think I was even singing, but let's move on. Before we jump in, do me a massive favour and hit like for the algorithm. You've got to think of it as your contribution to keeping the neon lights on and the synths humming. And with that, let's get into it. A really quick recap if you're new to the game, but Nivalis is a story-driven cyberpunk life sim and management game set in the city from Cloudpunk. It's a really awesome game, and if you haven't played that, definitely check that one out. You'll be building relationships, running and expanding venues, and working your way through a narrative that has a defined ending rather than being completely endless and sandbox driven. But for me, the fun and exciting part about this game is living in that cyberpunk city. So apart from an exciting new gameplay video, what's been developing here? Well, the June and July updates seem to add a lot of interesting context. June was all about the mood, the city, and that unmistakable atmosphere. But July started answering the big questions people kept asking, which was what you're actually going to spend your time doing in Nivalis. I mean, that's kind of important, right? And now the new FAQ makes that much clearer. The core of the game is not just managing a business in a pretty cyberpunk city, it's following quests, getting to know the people living there, building relationships, and uncovering the interconnected stories of more than 130 characters. The management side still matters, of course, but it sounds like the real backbone of the experience is that blend of narrative progression, social choices, and deciding when to focus on story versus when to put your time into growing your business. To be honest, that management side also sounds broader now than the original premise ever suggested. Yes, you'll be buying ingredients, upgrading your venue, hiring staff, expanding into new districts, and unlocking more recipes. But the FAQ also reinforces that there's a lot going on around that. Decoration, for instance, isn't just for your businesses, but apartments and even client jobs. Fishing grows over time in new spots and species once you get your boat. There's greenhouse management for crops, more complexity in how you support your restaurant, and even hints at other mini-games they're still holding back for later. So the image here is of a game where your story, your business, and your side activities all seem to feed into one another rather than sitting in separate boxes. It all feels very interconnected in that sense. The world itself also feels a bit clearer now. Earlier devlogs gave us those district reveals like Sky High Gardens and Seaside Boardwalk, but the FAQ helps explain how the city is actually structured. Nivalis is divided into large districts and there will be loading screens between them. Let's hope that's not another problem like Starfield though. I was playing Starfield last night on my handheld Legion Go, and I have to say the ability to fly between planets seamlessly does add to the immersion massively. And how long did it take them to fix that aspect? So this does end up being a little bit of a red flag for me with this title, but I didn't really notice it when I played Cloudpunk, and I'm hoping the districts are big enough with plenty enough to explore that you don't really notice it. It does state you'll be able to explore freely in those districts, including the interiors of most of the businesses that make the city feel alive. Just a quick interlude to say most of you who watch the channel are not subscribed. So make sure to go down below and hit that subscribe button, because it helps smaller channels like us grow really quickly, and both me and Tom really appreciate it. Another slightly disappointing aspect is you won't be driving cars around the city, which some people might have wondered about. But you move between districts using hover taxis and trains, and you'll also be able to pilot your own boat. But for me, I will miss driving around the city like in Cloudpunk. It's a bit of a miss, I think. But maybe it's a smart choice also on the other hand, because it keeps the focus on the atmosphere and the city design while still giving you some personal freedom through the waterways. Now, onto the bigger picture side of the update, and this is where the FAQ actually adds a lot. We already knew from the earlier devlogs that Nivalis had become more ambitious, especially with the huge voice acting push and the delay into 2026. It's never nice to hear about delays to games, but also I'd rather they get it right and they don't release something unpolished. So maybe we praise the developer for taking a slightly different path than many games will this year. But we also know the game now has a defined story, specific endings it wants players to reach, and multiple paths shaped by your relationships, side quests, and business decisions. You can build friendships, romances, rivalries, and business partnerships, and those relationships can change dialogue, affect side quest outcomes, and even open up practical opportunities like better prices from vendors. On top of all this, the FAQ confirms things like day and night affecting opportunities, markets reacting to events, multiple property ownership across districts, separate inventories for homes, kitchens and greenhouses, and most importantly that the release date is set to be announced in April. That last part is probably the biggest takeaway of all, because after all this time, Nivalis finally feels like it's moving out of the someday category and into something much more immediate, and we're very excited about that. So why am I so excited about this title? Well, Nivalis makes a compelling case as to why it taps into the full pull of the cyberpunk genre, and not just the visual side of it. It's the atmosphere, the music, so important for this type of game, the rain-soaked streets, the glow of signs in the distance, and that feeling of loneliness mixed with ambition. And of course the ideal of building a life in a city that feels seductive and hostile at the same time. Shadows of Doubt was another game that almost did that for me, being super immersive, but it just had too many bugs in it over time. The more the Nivalis devlogs have gone on, the more it feels like the team understands the appeal here. They're not just building a setting, they're trying to build a place you want to exist in, whether you're running a venue, decorating an apartment, chasing new districts, or the most important thing for me, just soaking in the mood of the city around you. That's something I do with Cyberpunk on a regular basis on PC and Nintendo Switch 2, where it's simply amazing and the cross-save feature is mind-blowing. But just sitting in that cafe or bar, soaking up the atmosphere, it's truly glorious. The big question is really whether Nivalis can land at the right moment and with enough depth. Because the wider cyberpunk wave is not what it was when Cyberpunk 2077 had everyone obsessed with the genre. So atmosphere alone won't carry this now. The city can look amazing, the music and mood can be immaculate, but the real test will be whether the business sim, exploration characters and life sim systems all come together in something genuinely deep, rather than just stylish and impressive on the surface. So overall, I'd say Nivalis still looks seriously promising. The recent devlogs already showed a game becoming more concrete and ambitious, but this FAQ finally helps explain how all those pieces might actually fit together. If the final game can match that incredible atmosphere with real depth, this could still be one of the most distinctive Cyberpunk releases on the horizon. And I'm hoping for a Cyberpunk masterpiece because I just can't get enough. Let me know in the comments if you feel the same. I've been Luke from LT Gaming. Stay tuned, subscribe, and I'll catch you on the next one.